All right, welcome back. This is Tropical Boise. My name's Rich. I want to do a little update video and talk about the yard out here. Doing a little yard work today. Got a bunch of leaves to clean up. A river birch tree. Still got a little bit on it, but he sure puts down a lot of leaves to pick up. So that's kind of where we are. Since my last video, a couple of things I've had to change. Had to make a couple of tweaks with the boxes. You know, I've left them open like was my plan. I was going to originally just have them on. Thermal cube was the only lights and heat I was going to use, but the humidity was way high in there, even with the top of the boxes open. So what I did, I've got 2 strands in here on each of them. It's probably better to show you on one of these other ones. I've got only half the lights that are on all the time. I took the other ones out, like here in the windmill palm. I'm not sure if you can see down there, and I've got that whole box on the plastic deal. I've got that hooked up to a thermal cube, and the idea behind that is that that'll be the extra heat that I need. So it did work. I've got that humidity dropped way down, much lower than the actual temperature. You can kind of see here I've got this box, and it's hooked onto the thermal cube, and the light strand that's on, only half the lights. I took all the other half of the bulbs out, and the results have been pretty good. You know, the needle palms are really happy, although he could probably live here without protection. Over here I've got the Mediterranean fan palm. You know, these have all been at least 10 if not 15 degrees warmer than the outside temperature. I'll go through some of the more science later. I've been trying to do very much a scientific approach to keep it as close to like St. George's climate as I can, and so far with those temperatures we've been a little bit warmer than the temperatures in St. George, at least inside the boxes. It has our coldest temperature we've gotten is down to 23, and even on that morning the boxes were still at 40 or above depending on the box. So really happy with that so far. You know, those thermal cubes will kick on at 35. And none of them have kicked on yet. It hasn't gotten cold enough, and at least for the next 2 weeks, it doesn't look like we've got anything that's concerning either. So that's kind of where we're at here. The windmill palm, not nearly as big of an opening. I left his pretty close. I wanted to experiment a little bit with some of the different ones just to see how much heat they would hold. The California fan palm, the big one here, he's been quite happy. And you can see the thermal cube up here, and that hasn't kicked on yet either. And then down there at the base, I'm not sure if you can even see, I think it's behind where the other strand of lights are. So, you know, so far so good. Got the snow patio up. I put that up every year. I've got some propane heaters that I put in there so that we can sit out there when we're missing the outdoors. Spend a lot of time over here on what we call the south side lanai. It's nice. We got a southern exposure, so we can sit out here really all winter. If the sun's out on the day like today, it's quite comfortable out here, and even in January and in December and into February, it's pretty great. It's kind of a little microclimate. You know, I'll have buds peeking up through here the last week in January, and we should have flowers sometime mid-February. But I'll keep you updated on that as we go through the winter. Yeah, I'm gonna finish cleaning up here and probably add a little bit to the video a little bit later on. Well, here we are looking at the garage plants. I have the really big banana from the patio. He's a rated zone 9, so there's no way I could leave him out. He's pretty big though. I don't know if it would be worth it maybe next year, because that root base is huge, to put him in the ground, maybe chop him off and build him a box. I'll have to wait and see what he does, you know, next year. Brought the mule palm in the garage. Little baby there, just letting him keep alive, and then some of our bougainvillea, Hawaiian flowers as we like to call them. Try to keep them alive. I bought a cold hardy banana at the end of the season. He should live here with a little protection, but he's still pretty small. I didn't want to leave him out right now. So that's kind of what's going on in the garage. Let's go ahead and check out some more of the yard. All right, well, I also wanted to show you this seedling that I grew last winter. So he's about a year old, not quite. It was a little bit later. I think I planted the seed maybe last January, February-ish. So this is the happiest one that I have, and he really loves this south-facing window. And got a little sun lamp on him as well. But he's been really happy here, so I'll be interested to see how well he does over the winter, how much I can get him to maybe grow, and hopefully someday have him in the ground at my house would be pretty great to do that.
All right, so I also wanted to just spend a little bit of time talking about the way I'm approaching this, almost like a science experiment, and maybe some advice for those of you who are thinking about trying this. Like I say, I've mentioned it a few times already that I really tried to find the closest place to me to where palms actually grow in the wild, and so I decided upon St. George for a few reasons. One, it's just directly south of here, about 450 miles. Uh, the elevation's similar, the rainfall totals are similar. Even the coldest average, we're not that much colder, although we do hit more real cold streaks than they do. I did a lot of historical research on both places, and that really is the difference. And I suspect part of that is that we're significantly further south at 6.5 degrees of latitude. And I looked at that for Boise, so we basically hit where St. George's bottom is on November 12th, and so we're further away from the sun all the way until February 1st, which uh, I'm not really too worried about this time of year with November, and I'll kind of show you. I've been tracking the data and comparing, the temperatures inside my boxes compared to St. George. I would that February 1st might be a little bit more realistic. That I also did a lot of historical research. The coldest average is in St. George is 27 degrees, and they only sit there for about 2 weeks before it starts to warm back up. Right, we're under 27 degrees average for 51 days from basically December 7th through January 27th. And I would agree with that. That's going to be my danger zone of keeping them warm enough. When I've gone back 20 years of historical data on Boise. And if we're going to get single digits, it's going to generally be in that time frame. It's pretty rare for it to happen outside of that. And so, with all the similarities here, that's kind of what I'm hoping to do, with just looking at, say, the last 10 years. Um, it's only happened once where we've had some really, I went and did research on our historic temperatures in Boise. When do we hit those days? And I wanted to see, like, how often do the temperatures get under zone 9 temperatures, right? Which is getting into the 20s, zone 8 in the teens, and zone 7 in single digits. And we are zone 7, and you see that we get a smattering of those. The 2016 winter, that was a real anomaly for us. That's by far the worst winter I've seen in 30 years of living here. In fact, they still refer to that as Snowmageddon in town. We had a whopping 41 days under zone 9, but most years it's not. In fact, we go some years to where you have almost none. The 2021 we had a couple days of zone 8, but most years this is kind of more typical here. What you see where we have some at 8 and some at 7, and those are the days that I'm going to really have to focus on making sure that I've got those boxes where I need them to be temperature wise. I'm going to come to my next document here. Okay, so I've got what we were in Boise officially, what the official was in St. George, and then what I had in my boxes. And so we had the coldest day that we've had so far. We hit a low of 23 on the 6th, and I still had an average of 14 warmer in the box on those days. Now we're going to get significantly colder than 23 at some point, but so far that hasn't been a huge issue in terms of what we've had. I've been warmer than St. George in the boxes just about every day, especially on the low temperatures. There's some days where they're a little warmer for the high, but I've been really pleased so far with what I have in there. And I'm also excited about the fact that I'm had here so far in this month of November, and the next 2 weeks getting us into December doesn't look like anything that's too terribly threatening out there. I'm worried about once we get into about that December 7th through January 27th window. That's going to be where the biggest issues are going to come. Anyways, hope you guys are liking the videos. Like I said, if you're considering trying this, I would recommend trying to find the closest place and try to mimic that climate. At least that's kind of my plan here. If anybody happens to be in St. George watching this, I'm curious when or if at all do you guys protect your palms down there during the winter. Anyways, like and subscribe.